I'll tell you all about it.
That was real good. That was money, first of all.
Let's do another.
What is up, everyone? I am Chris Knight, and you are watching The Real Review 3000 here with another episode of The Gospel According to Chris. It has been quite a while, actually. It's been a month or so. Last person I had on was PJ from Orville Nation. And, I think I spun, I think he's calling himself Open-Minded Movie Man. I can't remember. I've got like 3 people that I have to reschedule. So, those people I'm working on getting rescheduled and all that. But I asked Piper a couple weeks ago if she would be willing to come on, and she said yes. She loves to talk about herself. She's stuck up like that, and she's into herself, heavily into herself. Hey, Nindroid, how you doing? So into herself that I'm going to let her talk for about half an hour about nothing but herself and her channels and all that other stuff she does. No, I'm kidding. Piper's a really awesome person. She's occasionally on Name That Tune with me and HanStar. She's sometimes on Jackbox Game Night on HanStar's channel, and I think last week when we were on it, we went over and jumped onto DJ Odyssey's channel. So she's all over the place, kind of like I am. But I'm going to give her just a little bit of time here right now to talk about herself while I go and tweet this out to make sure people know that we are now live. So, Piper, with that said, go ahead and tell everybody about yourself, where they can find you, some of the stuff you're doing right now, and go ahead and pimp out what your projects are and stuff.
Oh, okay. Hey, I am Piper, writer, artist, editor, probably some other things, content director on Graded.5. That is the website, graded.5.net, but it's also a YouTube channel, just Graded.5 spelled out. So you'll find a lot of my stuff there, including some crossovers from Adventures of Piper might happen over there. I haven't decided yet. Adventures of Piper is the website I am working on, and it is also supposed to be a eventual webcomic and video series.
Ooh, a video series about what? What are we talking about there?
The video series was supposed to be like me doing random stuff for the first time. So it's all about how everything's an adventure was kind of the theme. Everything can be an adventure, everything can be fun. And it was supposed to be me trying stuff, different things for the first time, be that cooking a certain recipe to trying a certain game. All
sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, kids in the shower as usual. This always happens. No. Yeah, but okay. So, I mean, you got a website that I put down there. You got Graded.5 that you do stuff on. You do have your own YouTube channel. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I think
it's Fizz Giggity.
Yeah, I can't remember if I got that down there or not. I tried to put every one of your links. I'd have to go back and actually look while we're going live in the description box. But I mean, okay, so you're working on how many different projects right now? Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, we're gonna talk about that now, all right?
Okay, so besides trying to get started on the adventures of Piper, I am editor / some of the character creation / character design for Peregrine Wings of the Falcon. That is the comic book on Indiegogo. I was trying to beat Deadbeats, but I don't think that's going to happen. I guess it was too lofty a goal for a first comic.
We always set deadlines, and if you're like me, I think that I'm more about making sure I get a quality product out there, even if I'm not going to hit that deadline. I want a deadline. I want to set myself to a date, but there's a project I'm working on right now that is probably well over 6 to 8 months behind. Yeah,
I know how that feels with some of the commissions. I have one that I've been working on too long because I'm just not satisfied with how it keeps starting out. So I know how that can feel.
Yeah, I mean, There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like I said, the 6 to 8 months behind. I'm working with other people. There's lots of other people's schedules involved, and it was something that once I get it done, I will be better at doing it. Some of the production stuff I do, and this one, I'm not going to go into it because this isn't about me. But once you go into something and you start something, then you get into it and you're like, oh, wow, this is a lot more work than I thought. And that's what we ran into right from the get-go. And I started coming up with all this stuff, and the people involved, a few of the other people involved were like, let's just do something else. I'm like, no, we can do this. We can do this. And I figured out how to do it. And now we're just trying to get it done. So
nice.
Let's talk about Peregrine first. Give me a little background about what it is, what it's about, all that stuff.
Well, it started on Graded Point 5. We follow a lot of comics stuff in general, but especially ComicsGate the past few years, we've started just focusing a lot on the ComicsGate stuff. And we were talking about how the superheroes, technically kind of like before most of them were replaced, our superheroes have been deconstructed to death, to the point where they're no longer like the slightest bit likable. They're no longer like this idea, like, oh, cool, Superman. No, it's, man, what an asshole. What else is on?
Yeah, no. Why do you think that is? Let's go in that little direction real quick. Why do you think it is that all these characters that we grew up and loved have been deconstructed? And I have my own opinion, but I want to hear yours first and see where we stand on that.
Well, I think at first the superhero deconstruction route was, actually kind of interesting. Okay, we've had all these tons and tons of adventures, but what if, these characters were a lot more flawed, and what really goes into, let's dive into the psyche of, being a superhero. And that was really interesting until they kept coming up with stuff and making all of our heroes just freaking deranged. And I feel like it got to that point as an attempt to, especially with the male heroes, it was an attempt to, I almost feel like it was intentionally to make them unlikable. I think first the grim dark thing got popular in the movies, and they just kept on and kept on. But I really think they're trying to make a lot of these characters unlikable, because then they get swapped out with like kids or other characters that are more flawed than the writers seem to think they are.
Yeah, I think that a lot of it was to, I don't know, maybe they're trying to make them more flawed, I guess. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. Before we had superheroes, and now we've got people on a page that just, like you said, they're not interesting. They're not likable. Yeah. And then anything that comes out that's new, and I think this is kind of, and I don't know, we're going to get into that also. I don't know a lot about ComicsGate, but I think a lot of the problem and the reason why people gravitated to what is now ComicsGate is because they saw a lot of that. They saw their childhood favorites being torn apart, and then they saw the new stuff coming in, just kind of with the new stuff is like two-dimensional compared to what we used to get. What we used to get was very tangible and realistic. You close your eyes at night, even without the book, and think of your own stories from it. And now it's like, it's just flat. It's there's no imagination involved in it. And I think that's kind of where ComicsGate came from. But okay, so Peregrine is, give me a background on that. What exactly is the storyline and all that?
Well, she is going to head everybody into the Reconstruction universe, which will have a lot of other stories. There's definitely a lot of other characters. It's almost like a soft reboot just for ComicsGate and anybody else that misses what the superhero books used to be, I think, in their prime. Where, yes, the characters were kind of relatable because they had real-world problems. But at the end of the day, they're superheroes, and you're getting your superhero adventures and stories. You're not getting boring, soap opera crap for books on books and books on end. And so we start her with at the end of a cataclysmic event that wipes out a lot of the world's superhero population.
Interesting. So you say the world's superhero population. Are we going to make reference, because I know copyrights and different things like that can come into play? Are we going to make reference to any superheroes we know, or are we going to, are you going to like, are we going to use creative writing so people know exactly who we're talking about?
Well, we're not going to really reference too much actual comics. However, our characters are very much based on what we liked about specific characters. So like, you know, Superman was cool, except for, you know, the fact that he was overpowered did kind of make him boring. Turning him into a moody jerk didn't help, but
doesn't ever do that, does it? It never helps.
So we have our classics that are basically what we call our Superman analog. That are kind of like him, not exactly same, not overpowered, has more weaknesses and this and that. And we have our analogs for a lot of different characters, but instead of trying to mimic exact characters, we just kind of mimic character type so that we have something in there for everybody that likes this or that. Like one of the characters I created, Lupa, she gets to be in the Peregrine book a little bit. She is she's technically your Hulk, Beast, and a little bit Poison Ivy all wrapped up into one person that's that's very different from all of them. But she's like an analog for that. So they have like that balance in the team of, you know, this kind of person and that kind of person.
Cool. So how many people you have working on this project right now?
This one has let's see, we've got Xavier and Optipops from Graded Point 5, and me from Graded Point 5. Technically Evil Bob's there. He's our fact guy. We've got Scott McCullough from Door Kickers, because he was very much down with the idea, and since he's written a script for his book already, and he's done, you know, an Indiegogo for his book, we definitely thought that, you know, for Graded Point 5's first debut book, it would be good to have somebody that's already got that experience on the team. So he did the script, and he took basically everything Xavier wrote and made a script from it. And then I made sure everything matched and fixed up and wrangled in Xavier's lore. But then we have Doug Fridgen, who's worked on Halo Escalation and X-Men Blue. He's got a lot of like actual published comics under his belt. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's really cool we got him. We got him, I think, through Scott. So it's really freaking cool because that means that we got some of that classic superhero, the classic comic book style that we like. Not super classic, but right in the sweet spot.
No, he's got enough new thought behind it, but with the classic flair, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely not the Cal Arts stuff, and it's not Squirrel Girl and whatever else they're doing now.
They got a lot of stuff out there, and I don't know. They're, you know, and we see this, you know, with the fandom menace, and all of that that when things go awry, it creates these what I call subcultures that long for something that is more true and more accurate to what either they grew up with or what they view it as, you know, or what they view should be. And I mean, I think that you fall under that, like you just said, you fall under that same line, but it does create a lot of great content out there because there's a lot of great writers. There's a lot of great artists. You know, we both do stuff with, you know, Peter Gilmore. We do stuff with Mandy Summers. Anthony from Dark Gift Comics, and there's a lot of people out there that, and I'm not a part of that comics group or ComicsGate group, but I dive over there because I like you guys a lot. You guys got a lot of great people, a lot of great talent, and a lot of things that we don't see enough anymore. Tell me a little bit about Graded Point 5, how you got involved in that, what you guys, what's the main purpose for the channel and stuff? Where are you guys wanting to go? What are you wanting it to be? All of that stuff.
Well, originally it was a comic review podcast.
Okay.
And it spread from that. I got involved. The original owner of Graded Point 5, he's not around anymore, so it did have a huge overhaul shortly after, a little while after I joined. But I had been muscled out of the the geek website that I had been writing for and doing podcasts and this and that for forever.
Do you want to mention names?
I'm not going to mention names because it's. I was going to say it's way in the past. Okay. It's.
You don't have to. You don't have to. I
was like, at the time, the website was called Geeks with Wives. It is not anymore. Yeah. And they wanted to, they wanted to change and overhaul themselves. Mm-hmm. So I was supposed to be part of that kind of overhaul. And they wanted women creating content and contributing and this and that. So I became a writer for them. And it's funny because I was brought in because they liked how opinionated I was. But then they discovered they did not like my opinions because
they liked you being opinionated, but they didn't like those opinionated opinions.
Yeah, I guess they didn't do their homework very well before bringing me in. Because the divide really happened when Marvel decided Thor is now a title.
Yeah.
And this chick is Thor. And I wrote an article about how that screws up their own canon, how this looks really shoehorned in and blatant, how as, a chick, it's insulting.
Okay.
And how, if you wanted to do this, give Storm the hammer again, because that was awesome.
Yeah. Okay, real quick, I'm going to read this super chat. $5 super chat from Rosetta. Love you, Chris. Hope we are doing well tonight. I miss our chats. Give Piper my best and know you guys are amazing. Hearts. Okay, thank you very much, Rosetta. I appreciate the $5 super chat. I really do appreciate that. Guys, if you would like to put out a super chat out there, I really appreciate that. Also, I have a PayPal link down below, a Streamlabs link. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more. Okay, anyways. And here real quick, we're going to go to this. Dandelion Fluff says, they always say they want opinionated, but they don't really because it creates work and self-discovery.
Well, they discovered that they were an SJW website.
They did. Really? Along. They didn't like the fact that you pointed out a blatant problem with Thor, which we're going to get into as Phase 4 goes through. I mean, one of the worst runs that Thor ever had was the Lady Thor, or whatever you want to call her. The I'm trying to remember what she was.
They kept getting pissed if anybody put Lady or Femme or anything on there. They said, no, she is Thor. And I'm like, then who's Thor?
Yeah, it's well.
And I kept pointing this out, and so all these dudes, they flat out decided I was not a real comics fan.
Oh, geez.
Because I did not like that version of what they were doing with Thor at that point, and that was around the beginning of rumblings of ComicsGate, where I was already like. Gamergate was going on.
Yeah.
And I said, there's going to be a ComicsGate. It's going to be the next gate. Just watch. And I was right. And it happened. So I was right there with it. I was like, hell yeah, I'm already pissed. I'm pissed.
We got a $10 super chat now from Rosetta. Just remember, courage and heart is important. Speaking your mind is important. So is standing on your beliefs. I'm always here for you guys. We know where we know where we stand with integrity, and that's absolutely right. you know, and I'm going to talk about me for 5 seconds here. Well, I don't. This show particular is not about me and myself. Even though it says it's the gospel.
Real quick.
Oh, that's fine. Even though it says it's the gospel according to Chris. Here's the thing.
Oh crap! I can't reach it. Never mind.
Okay. Sometimes my opinions lie in different places. Sometimes they align with what the Fandom Menace says. Sometimes ComicsGate, these things. Mm-hmm. But the main point I always like to point out is that you yourself have an opinion, and because of that, you shouldn't feel like you should hide it. And it's really important.
Never. I mean, they tried to. I'm so sorry. They tried to strong arm me and this and that. They all got mean with me. They even did podcasts where they were trying to specifically tell me off, and they got really ticked when I would own them with comics facts like how dare this chick that we wanted, because we want chicks on here now because we don't want to look like a bunch of dude bros, but we're a bunch of dude bros. Go away.
That's always interesting when that happens. So okay, so you got muscled out, for lack of a better word, of that. And
that was a nice way to put it. I quit.
Okay.
But I quit because I was tired of their shit. So.
Okay. And when you did that, you found Graded Point 5 because, okay, so did you find Graded Point 5 before ComicsGate or did you find it after?
It was still technically before ComicsGate was a thing.
When would you say ComicsGate started?
Personally, to me, it was 2017.
Okay. So all of this, the whole Star Wars thing that blew up and became the Fandom Menace, and that's not all of that's about, but that ComicsGate, all of this war campaign, I guess you could say, whatever. Oh, that all started right around the same time, 2017, somewhere around there, right?
I'm not 100% sure on dates, honestly. I do know that I'm technically Fandom Menace 2 and Weeb Wars. So we're all kind of interconnected because we're all technically pissed about the same things, just in these various fandoms. People
changing things just for the sake of changing them because they don't want to come across as racist, homophobic.
People very lazily pandering, not putting any effort into it, and thus cheapening everything instead of actually making it seem legitimately diverse. Yeah. And since I love Star Wars and I love anime and stuff like that, I ended up in all of that. It's just I ended up more hardcore in ComicsGate because I've always wanted to work in comics. So it's been a passion to begin with. And I happened to, experience the stupid SJW BS of it all, firsthand, over and over again. So yeah, yeah. But at the time, it was this dude came to me. I had been kind of doing content and reviews and this and that for a couple other places at the time, but they weren't comics. So, because I was, still kind of pissed. So he asked me to be a member on Graded Point 5, which at the time was a comic review podcast. Now, granted, we were reviewing books that we thought they lazily did bullshit to, for the most part. We reviewed some good books too. And then we kind of made a couple of neat little offshoot podcasts about it, like Operation Retcon. But ComicsGate was ComicsGate caught on, and my feed, my social media became very primarily ComicsGate around the time that we were doing Operation Retcon, I would say.
And what was Operation Retcon about?
Operation Retcon is we would take a really crappy comic plot or comic character, and we would take turns saying how we would fix it without, disturbing canon and all that stuff. How we would have written the same story, or really how the same story should have gone in order to keep in canon or just not suck.
Okay, yeah. So you got with Graded Point 5. And which came first, Peregrine or this idea of the Adventures of Piper, which you've now told me is an idea, but how far along are you with that idea?
It keeps staying in idea phase because I keep working on other things instead. I do keep telling people I'm kicking myself all the time because I am so busy working on, stuff with other people or stuff for other people that I keep pushing my personal solo stuff, back and back and back because I'm like, that's not as important. I'm getting, a lot of times it's because I'm getting paid for something. So, I'm getting paid to do this project. So obviously it takes priority and it has deadlines. My personal stuff doesn't. So it keeps getting pushed back.
So with Peregrine, what is your role?
Primarily editor.
Editor, okay. But when I asked you, you said you write, you do draw, or you're an artist, and you're also an editor.
Yeah.
So you do it all. So when you do the Adventures of Piper, when that starts, is that going to be a solo, 100% solo project, or are there going to be other people involved?
That'll be solo. It's not going to be the Adventures of Piper, aside from being a website that's just a general blog, because I decided other than Graded Point 5, I was like, I'm not working for other websites anymore because I am tired of this. I was trying to do like movie reviews or something for girls. What was it? Fangirl Nation. And then I was let in on a series of emails where apparently everybody I was working with there, despite nothing being wrong with my articles, simply wanted to push me off of that website because I wasn't a feminist. So I was like, I'm done writing for other people and answering to other people. I'm going to put my opinions. I'm going to blog on my own site. And I haven't been doing that. I wrote one article when I first started making the site and then was like, I should probably finish making this site. So it's going to be kind of a catch-all. It's going to be a blog, but it is going to be a webcomic.
So that was that's the Adventures of Piper.net, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The .com, unfortunately, is like $2,000.
What?
Yeah, I wanted a .com and I saw that price tag. It's been sitting at that price for years. I'm like,
Really?
Yeah.
I'll have to look up that for you because I might have a way of you getting it for a little cheaper, maybe.
Oh, that would be neat.
Maybe. Don't take my word on that. And just real quick, we'll go back to the chat. Everybody, hi, thank you. Chris, I can't add pics to the folder. I gave you access to it. You should have access to it, Rosetta. We'll talk about it later. And we got Dandelion Fluff here. We had Sci-Fi Nation. Let's see, United Thrive. I saw here Nindroid was here. Seth Englehart. We got some people in here. Well, let's talk a little bit. No, stop it, Rosetta. Let's talk a little bit about the Adventures of Piper. You said it's going to be partially like a blog, or what's the actual is it going to be a book or a comic book, or what? What are we going for? What is it?
It's all meant to be just like free entertainment and opinions for whoever freaking wants them.
So it's a website. That's what it's going to be, is this website.
Yeah. The website will, like I said, it'll have a blog. And then it'll have the Adventures of Piper webcomic. Okay,
so it's going to be a webcomic. Okay, I didn't catch that. Sorry, that's my fault. As people will tell you, I space out. No,
you're fine.
So the webcomic, is it going to be about you and what you do, or the things you do? Is it going to be a satire of what your life is?
Yeah, essentially. Funny moments that I think will make other people laugh if it's done all cartoony. It'll be from that, and it'll also be following me learning how to do sequential art myself. Cool. So the comic itself will be practice because I draw, but I haven't done much sequential art other than comic strips. I've done those a lot in the past, but nothing more complex.
As a web comic, do you see it more like a comic strip?
I think it'll be kind of done in comic strip style.
Yeah, I think that'd be really interesting, and that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, originally it was supposed to be called comic formerly known as Untitled. Because a long time ago, I had started doing that comic, and but by hand, not digital. It wasn't really a web comic. It was a little bit of it showed up in a magazine a long time ago, and then I lost touch. I moved, and everything kind of went to crap. But
we got $2 super chat from Gaming or What. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. No, nothing on there. I don't think it's maybe it's is it a sticker?
No,
it's just that. Okay, because I don't have YouTube up right now. I'm running off of.
Yeah, I'd tell you if it was a sticker, because
Okay,
I think those are funny and they don't show up in the
I know.
StreamYards.
I don't understand that. It's like, what?
Maybe StreamYards will update eventually so that you can.
StreamYards has a lot of stuff I wish they would do, because I'm a Streamlabs person. I love Streamlabs, or Streamlabs OBS is what I really use. And when I do my solo streams, sometimes I'll use that. And when I do lately, when I've been doing what I call movie talk with Steve Kenobi, I have that, and I use Streamlabs. I prefer doing that. I just wish I got to figure out a way to get more people on there, because if I could get 6+ people on there like you can on here, I'd probably just strictly do it from there. Oh, well, thank you, Gaming or What. I really appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Okay, so let's go into what your let's talk about your art style. How would you say you draw? I mean, are you after realism, or are you more like I don't know, let's say something like Calvin and Hobbes, what was it? Far Side, was it? Yeah, Far Side, like a comic strip cartoon drawing. What's your drawing style?
My drawing style is kind of between like manga and Western cartoony, and I want to be closer to realism, to be honest. But thanks to school and like a whole bunch of other stuff, I just went years where I didn't draw. And then this ComicsGate stuff, I was in school during some of it, but this ComicsGate stuff is kind of like really amped up my desire to, there is a chance I can technically get into the comics industry after all. This was my goal, once upon a time, and I gave up on it because of the atmosphere, and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna, make it. And ComicsGate has been nothing but, yeah, you can do it. Come on, come on, do it.
What I find amazing with YouTube and with digital, I mean, I've been a part of bands, and I have people tell me, and I don't know if this is true, they tell me I have great ideas for movies and things like that. And like you said, years ago, like hell you're ever going to get anything like that seen. Right? Like hell you were going to do anything. But when I first started doing my work with my band, there was this thing called mp3.com, which you could put your digital recording up online, and it would people could listen to it, and depending on how many people listen to it, you would get ranked in your city, your region, your state,
like
so on and
so forth. Early stage YouTube, just not the video, just music.
back when it was and stuff like that.
Yes. Oh God.
But I remember when I did that, I put a few of our songs up, and consistently in the city we would have like 3 in the top 10. Within the region, we had 1 or 2 in the top 10. Within the state, we had 1 that was actually fought for number 1 quite a bit. It was always number 1 in the first 2 in state, and then in the nation, that 1 was within like the top 20 or something like that. It was amazing. And when we did that, we were like, and this wasn't even finished stuff. This was like a real quick mix down and all of that. And when I saw that, I'm like, wow, this is really interesting, because what this tells me is because of a separate format, the needing to go find a record label or anything like that. If you handle it yourself, you can actually do this. And so
you might not do it on as big a scale.
Well, you got to think nowadays. The internet, if something takes hold, it's going to be 5 times bigger than anything that gets sold at what you would call a music store now. And there isn't even really any of those left. There's Barnes and Noble. That's about it.
I more meant you might not get to the point where you're going on tour.
Well,
but it doesn't matter.
You never
kind of don't need
that's
to.
The thing. Eventually.
But that's why I said might.
Yeah, you never know.
Still worth it.
The thing is as long as you are having a good time with it, I think that's a really good, important thing. And Gaming or What brings up a really good point. ComicsGate treats fans how the mainstream should, and that's very true. Mainstream comic companies, what's left of them, it needs to look at it as anything that's okay, and they try to do new and different. They try, but then what I always say, a problem, for instance, is like that new Warriors thing that came out. The whole, what the hell was that?
Even the SJWs were like, what the hell?
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
It just looked like it was making fun of themselves.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Is that, and I said the problem with that is when they're saying, hey, we want to do this, we want to do inclusive stuff. What they're actually doing is they gave this comic book and they gave it to a writer who's like in his 40s, bald and white. What does he know about non-binary? What does he know about those people? And I'm like, that was what the biggest problem was. It's more like a slap in the face to the people that are trying to include. And I don't think there's anything wrong with including that. I don't think anybody thinks there's anything wrong with it. It is how you do it and what is your motive. If your motive is to add new characters with a bright, vibrant story and real canon that you can start from scratch, not rip off this person and this person.
Yeah, because at first that's all they were doing was swapping things.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're making their own characters now, but every single character sounds like, how do you do, fellow kids? Every single one is so brain dead. Like,
and when I was growing up in and I wasn't around in the 60s, but I mean like 60s, 70s, even the 50s, comics appealed to kids and teenagers, not because they were written for them, but because they latched onto a character that they saw themselves in. It wasn't about writing. They didn't think about writing for a person. Even Stan Lee used to say, I write this because I know somebody out there will find this character interesting and like them. When I write a problem for a character, I'm not thinking of what's out there. I'm thinking of what are problems that kids really have or that people really have. And when that person that has, that issue, let's say, today, depression, whatever, any one of a number of things, back when Stan Lee was writing these or coming up with these characters, he would write a character who was super powerful, had lots of cool things they could do, but their person, their alter ego, the person that they truly were, had some crippling problem.
Yeah.
And that he knew somebody would read it and read right into that problem and go like, I have that problem. And they'd read more because they had a connection with that character. Now they intend to write a character a certain way with the idea that this will identify to this group of people instead of letting that group of people decide who they identify with.
Exactly.
And that is horrible because now you're telling like the snowflake thing. Who the hell thought that was a good idea? It's like, that's such a horrible term. It's a derogatory term. And do people use it? Sure they do. But you don't tell people who are non-binary that they are snowflakes. You just don't do that.
Yeah.
And that's what that was doing. I was like, what the hell?
Safe Space was even worse. Like, at least Snowflake sounds like a name for, an ice-based
maybe
whatever. No, granted, in the current climate and atmosphere, yeah, no, that's a derogatory term to call a person a snowflake. But at least, like I said, snowflake sounds like something in any other age you would maybe name somebody ice or snow based or something. Safe space is just, what the hell kind of name even is that?
Yeah, it's I don't know, but that's, you know, I know that's the stuff ComicsGate is going after and things like that. So when you first got into all of this, I'm not going to ask you how old you are, but how long have you been interested in comics or in writing and drawing and all of that?
Oh man, since I can remember, really, at least 5 or 6. I grew up in a family where my mom was like, "This is for boys, and you're a girl, and girls do this." But luckily enough, my dad was an awkward geek. Well, is an awkward geek, and he was basically like, "I don't know how to, girl. Here's the stuff I like. Do you like it? You know, that would be cool." And I latched onto that a lot more than stuff my mom was trying to shove down my throat. Like, you are a girl, so you need to like pink and ponies and this and that. And so the first superhero I can remember, my dad had put on the old Superman cartoons. And man, I was just so fascinated by those. I was so into it. And so I started doodling my own. It's funny because I thought I had invented Superdog. When I was a kid, because I had also drawn a white flop-eared dog with a cape that flew and was super. The only difference was like he was also buff. And he stood on hind legs. Okay. So he was buff and stood on hind legs, and he flew around. And I was like, "Look, it's Superdog!" And I tried to draw little comics. Mm-hmm. They were awful, but but I was already so into it, and I'd already decided, you know, I want to, you know, make up superhero stories too and draw them. Now it matured from there, like what I want to do and how I want to do it and which heroes I liked. But I was really a little bit bummed when I saw way later on the Superdog, because I was like, mine's better.
Yeah, I used to, well, I still draw sometimes, but I used to draw, and I used to draw my own little comic book or comic strips and stuff. And as time went on, you know, I'd see something come out and go like, did I come up with that or did they come up with that?
Right?
I'm like, I don't know. Because you know what? I realize now, looking back, it's like, oh, wow. I thought I came up with that idea. But I guess I remember it from my childhood and I just hadn't seen it for so long. I don't know. I mean, Rosetta
actually,
says, seriously? I didn't see that you said that. So I'm sorry, Rosetta. Goodbye, Rosetta. Thank you very much for the super chats. I appreciate it. I might be over on Anthony's open mic night here a little bit later tonight. We'll see. I'm not positive. I got a lot to do today.
I'm hoping to go over there. I'm hoping the rest of my chaotic day is over and I can just veg in front of a screen.
Yeah. And Gilkman's in the chat. How you doing, Thomas? Thank you very much for showing up. Appreciate it. We're gonna go over a couple things here real quick and kind of wrap this up. First off, what is your favorite comic book? Period. Like your favorite comic book of all time, and it could be ComicsGate. It could be something you're working on. It could be something that's been made recently, or it could just be like old school comic books.
Well, technically, I should say Peregrine, Wings of the Falcon, now on Indiegogo, is my favorite comic.
Why don't you send that to me in the private chat real quick, or actually DM it to me, the link to that, so I can put it in the chat. because I did not
Okay.
grab that one.
Oh, my Twitter just completely overhauled itself or something. Woo! And there are a ton of awesome ComicsGate books that I do like, but my long-standing, what I've stood by as my favorite has been two. The Killing Joke.
Oh, yes.
And The Crow.
Oh, dude. Oh, God, yeah, no. See, The Crow was... Yeah, I don't even know how long that's been around. When was the first one of those? Was that... I'm trying to think here. Hold on.
I can't even remember anymore.
I'm looking it up. I gotta look this up real quick here. Crow superhero comic book started in... Looks like the first appearance was Caliper Presents #1, January of 1989. I knew it was a newer one, but that was like the... I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
I didn't get a hold of it in the 80s.
No, but
I didn't find it till much later, but yeah.
But like, I was like, I saw that and I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. That's different. It's newer. It kind of fit that goth, moody vibe that I had.
It helped that I was in my goth phase.
Every kid I think goes through goth phase.
Yep.
The thing is I was there before it was called goth, I think. I mean, like back, yeah. So I was in high school and all the alternative and grunge and all that was just kicking in, and I wore the black trench coat all the time, and black shirts and black jeans, and so I kind of looked like a comic book character walking down the street. I was the kid. When I walked down the street, people would be like, "I'm not gonna talk to him. He's dangerous." And I'm like, "I'm not dangerous. I was a real good guy and all that." So whatever. But okay, so good stuff there. What really did, and I know you said you've been doing this for a long time, or you wanted to do this for a long time. What do you think sparked your inspiration? What was your inspirational spark? Was it the Superman cartoons and your super dog representation? What is that? What sparked you to do this?
I think later on, getting a little bit older, though, I realized I had a knack for creative writing in general. And so I realized that I've got a lot of stories in me in general that I really want to tell. But when it comes to sitting down writing a book, I don't get as far as I need to. And I like to draw, and I realized I like not showing more than telling, but I kind of like that comics. It always kept coming back to comics. I was like, I could draw a single picture that says a lot. And I could write a book that says a lot, but it'll take me forever. Okay. Or I can combine the two and really, really get people in there. Whoop, my brain died. But, every time I was like, it would always come back to, because it'd be like, I want to be just an artist. I want to be just a writer. I want to do this and do that. It would always come back to, man, I just want to do comics. But it was like, I don't know how to get started. And everything I looked into was like, even indies were like very cliquey and competitive and, this or that. Nobody wants to help more people become competitors. And so I was like, you know what? I need to be realistic. My family was like, the same thing. You need to be realistic. And I was like, well, I'll go to school and be a graphic designer because it's still kind of artsy.
Yeah.
And I'll just do commission art on the side, and I'll get the art out there, and maybe I'll write stories at some point, or just tell stories to whoever wants to or something. But like I said, the ComicsGate went from a pushback, we're trying to tell you with our dollars that you guys need to straighten the hell up, to a fine. You guys are doubling down and being even more ridiculous. We're going to go over here and make our own comics industry and, have our own comics, and you can see what we missed about yours and what makes money and what doesn't. And I was like, everybody was so helpful. At first it was, it was like, Ethan Van Sciver and stuff like that. But it was some bigger names doing their Indiegogos, and you run out there and you support. And supporting that was me going, hey, here, comic industry, I'm showing you who I'm willing to spend money on and what I'm willing to spend money on. And like I said, that still didn't catch on. And some other people started Graded Point 5 started interviewing the new creators coming into ComicsGate. And we decided that was the direction we wanted to go in. We wanted to platform. When we didn't have anything else to talk about, we were going to platform, any creator that wanted a platform. And from talking to them and getting advice left and right from even the big boys, it was like, wow, like I could do this. I could really do this. Cool. I could actually be in comics.
Yeah. You see, and I'll kind of end it on this, and I'll give you a chance to mention all your stuff again real quick. So my thought here is I think ComicsGate is a lot different from the Fandom Menace. I don't blame the Fandom Menace for things like The Rise of Skywalker. I don't blame them, but I will say that is a direct reaction from the studio to what the Phantom Menace has said or done. That's them saying, well, they don't like this movie, so we're going to totally retcon everything and change everything. And I think that's kind of it's in response to us. So we're partially blame how the fandom, how the properties have reacted to certain things. It's different with ComicsGate, I think, because what you guys are doing is you're going out there, and because you can't actually use stuff like that, you can't use the other stuff that's out there, the DC, the Marvel stuff. You come up with your own stuff, and that's a different factor in this. It's your own stuff. You're selling it on Indiegogo and doing things like that. So there's a fan base that comes up and builds it up, and it becomes its own thing. The Fandom Menace lots of times can only say, we don't like this. You guys need to listen to us on how we can do it.
You can't really create your own Star Wars movies and stuff to
compete
very
much.
It
becomes very difficult, and you can't create a full 2-hour movie to compete against something like that. You guys can actually create a comic book that becomes its own thing that can compete against other people's stuff. And again, in the world of digital drawing, and the fact that you guys can work in teams, that you don't have to be in the same house, the same building, the same office, or anything like that. It allows you to find people that more align with what your vision is. Anymore, DC or Marvel comes up with something, it goes to a room within their conglomerate, and once it's out of that room, it goes to another room where the writers are all, or the drawers and the writers are all doing there's a certain set of people, and we've talked about it with on the Fandom Menace side, that true Star Wars and Star Trek fans who have tried to go to CBS or Lucasfilm and become somebody in that group, they constantly get struck down. And why is that reason? They don't have another outlet to go to. You guys get struck down. Well, you can draw your own thing. It may have characteristics like Batman, but you're not going to call it Batman. You're going to make it what you want Batman to be, or what you think that should be, and it becomes its own thing. It's much different. So I think ComicsGate has a lot. ComicsGate has a lot more room to grow, truthfully. Just kind of by design. I don't think that's anybody's fault or that's anything like that. It's just by design. It's a creative outlet more than a platform to speak on. Yeah. So it's very interesting. And so, all right. Well, with that said, we've been going right about an hour, and I still have to keep people around here for the Wheel of Names, guys. If you haven't seen it, I'm telling you, it is so awesome. The Wheel of Names. The Wheel of Names is how I pick the next week's guest. Hopefully, we'll be
that's cool.
next week. Yeah. It's not how you got picked, but you would have been on the wheel. It could have been months. I mean, some people literally went on the wheel the first time I came up with the wheel of names, and it took like a month or more for them to even get picked. It's random. It's fun. And my reasoning for that is because I don't want just big name YouTubers or big name Twitter people. I want whoever. I want to focus on you guys and what you're doing because it's really important. So speaking of focusing in on you, go ahead one more time. Tell everybody about your website, about Graded Point 5, about your YouTube channel. I will make sure that I fix the links down below to make sure that Peregrine's listed down there. The Indiegogo guys, go to that. I put it in the comments up above. Go to that, support that campaign. And again, I'll put your YouTube down there too, which I don't have, but I have Graded Point 5 down there. I have the Adventures of Piper.net down there, and I have your Twitter down there too. So go ahead and tell everybody about all that stuff.
Definitely check out gradedpoint5.net as well. It's going to start keeping up with the Reconstruction Universe comics, at least. And Graded Point 5 spelled out YouTube. My own YouTube is kind of collecting dust right now because I'm going to revamp what I'm doing with it. I was like, I'm going to finish my website first. The Adventures of Piper.net, there will be stuff there eventually when I get the time to work on my own stuff.
That is always the way it works, isn't it? And go follow Piper over on Twitter. That's FizzGiggity. It's twitter.fizzgiggity or twitter.com/fizzgiggity. Yeah. And how do you spell that? Hold on. I don't know why it took the names off. Oh, yes, I do. If I take the banner down, it brings your name back up. There you go. That's how you spell it.
Like that. If you like opinions, follow my Twitter and you'll get a taste of, I guess, the opinions that other websites don't want me to have. Or other websites kick me off.
That is what you should say. Piper, bringing you the opinions that nobody else wants to hear. I say the same thing about me. I say, I think I have great opinions, but I guess people don't think the same thing because I get called crazy and all that, whatever.
Direct from the source, because if I have a thought, it goes on Twitter because I'm not very filtered that way.
How many times have you been like blocked or not blocked, but like kicked from Twitter or
like doing the little suspension ban thingies? Twice.
Okay.
And both of them, though, out of all the stuff that I say on Twitter, both of them were for non-violations. They couldn't even make up a violation. They left that part blank. They put me on
I've noticed that with a lot of people.
12-hour and a 24-hour.
They're like, you violated this policy, but I'm not going to tell you how you did it.
It was a little automated later, and it says for violating blank. And I was like,
What?
Okay. It had a blank.
Interesting.
Both times.
Maybe that's them saying, we're just going to do it, but we don't know why we're doing it, but we're going to do it.
The first time they even highlighted a tweet, the tweet I said, this person's, your reasons for being pro genital mutilation are gross. And that's got me a 12-hour ban, and they wanted me to take down the tweet, and I refused. So eventually they let me back on, and they just hid the tweet to where only I could see it.
What's weird is I have yet to be hit like that. I don't necessarily put tweets out per se, and I'm really not. I'm the nice guy that comes into a Twitter war and says the things I want to say to the person without ways for them to come back at me on it. Like for instance, I had a friend one time that was called a Nazi on a Twitter. A Twitter, whatever you want to call it.
Fight.
Yeah, whatever. And I went in there and I said, why is it acceptable to call people a Nazi? do you understand what Nazis were? Do you understand that in Germany, it's against the law, one, to draw a swastika. It's against the law to say things about Nazis. I mean, it's like they try to wash it out of their society completely, so much so that there's an actual code of law in Germany.
Yeah.
And it's like, and here you're using it as just this word. And I'm like, how? And yeah, it drives me nuts what some people say sometimes. And then it's always a thing of, I am just defending people here, and then they strike me for it. Did you read what they wrote?
I know.
I don't get that. Twitter can be a weird place. Dandelion Fluff over there, by the way, does not use Twitter for that very reason, I bet. Or she just hates Twitter. I know that. I don't disagree with her on that.
I dislike it, but at the same time, it's where I've gotten the most following, and it's for those stupid opinions that haven't got me permabanned yet. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Memes likes turtles. Just so you know, he wanted
awesome. Turtles are pretty rad.
They are. I was on a stream last night, I think, or yesterday, where we talked about the fact that the 30th anniversary of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie is coming out.
Nice.
Yes, I was 13. Yes, do the math. You know how old I am now. No, I was like, I remember that movie. That was so awesome.
Wow.
Okay, so this is what we do, and you get to sit here and watch and enjoy it. This is the Wheel of Names. These are people that have said that they don't mind being on the Wheel of Names. They will go through the same intense, dramatic questions that I asked you that you were crying about, and you were
no.
I'm Barbara Walters of the internet, just so you know. I don't know if you knew this, but I am a big deal. I don't have an ego. I just play an ego. My ego plays an ego, I think. I don't know. All right, so we hit the button, and it spins, goes round and round and round and round and round until it stops, and it's going to tell us who I'm going to ask. Now, understand, guys, that this may not work because of people like Lethal Lightning who have different schedules than I have. He's over in Australia. We will talk to him, and we will see if he can make it on here.
Nice.
If he can, we will get him on. If not, we will have to find another person, and we might have to do another spin at a later time. I've been debating maybe I should spin this twice just to see. So maybe I will do that tonight for the first time. How about that? Let's do this. I'm gonna
the next one's for a backup.
Yes, I'm gonna open up a notepad. We're gonna say that we're gonna put in here Lethal Lightning. And then, yes, so this is a first. You are here for a first. We're going to spin.
Nice. Awesome.
And we are going to spin for the backup. I guess I should have thought of this like a long time ago. I just know, if I did this might make it a lot easier. That could be an interesting stream.
Nice.
DJ Odyssey is our backup, and we'll see how that goes. But we'll remove his name. And just so you guys know, I will show you this. People ask all the time. They're like, well, okay, so you have a wheel of names. Yes, I also have. We had to save the wheel of names, which is right here. Oh, wait, close. No, I got to hit save. Sorry. I'm trying to remember this. Wheel of names saved successfully. How about that? That was awesome. Wasn't it? It was like really cool how I do that. Open. I have like tons of wheel of names. The new wheel of names. This is everybody that's been on the show so far.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we're going to put Piper on here. And I had PJ from Orville Nation on. And so when we're done, we're going to spin again off of this one. And everybody, when I tell them they're on, they're going to be like, oh God, not again.
That's cool. That is a lot of names.
Well, I wanted to do this show, and we're going to go ahead and stop this. I wanted to do this show, and I was like, how do I not show favoritism to a person who has 30,000 subscribers or who has a large Twitter following? How do I not show favoritism? I typed in one day the Wheel of Names, and I got this little program online. And so I was like, wow, okay, that's cool. And so I've shared it with a lot of people. A lot of people have used it for giveaways and stuff like that. I use it on the Weekly Rumble which if you're available Thursday, I'd love to have you on again.
That is always fun. I think fine, depending on what time you do those. I can't remember.
7 p.m., 8 p.m. your time.
Okay, then yeah.
But guys, that's basically what everything is. That's basically everything today. So check out Piper and all her stuff that she's on and doing. That's down in the description box below. I will add your YouTube and the Peregrine stuff to it. And also, guys, check us out on Thursday. I'm going to go ahead and add you to the panel, and I'm going to figure out. I think I need 1 or 2 more people, but we'll get that taken care of. Guys, check us out on Thursday on this channel at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That would be 6 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific. And I don't know. I know in Norway it's like 4 in the morning. 2 in the morning. I'm sorry, 2 in the morning. In Australia, it's like 6 in the morning. I don't know. I think there's like YouTube makes it. You had to tell so many people so many different times. It's like, Anyways, with that said, guys, thank you very much for watching today. I appreciate every last one of you. You guys are so awesome, so great. And with that said, let's say goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey guys, thanks for checking us out. Be sure to subscribe to both channels, and make sure to check out our friends in the Fandom Minutes. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and BitChute, and you can also send us an email at Sean@SeanStackhouseReacts.com and chrisknight@TheRealReview3000.com. And be sure to swing by our Teespring store to pick up some awesome merchandise.